Hello and welcome to the Dr. Steve Smith podcast. Every week, Dr. Smith and I talk about various running and chiropractic subjects, taking full advantage of his 40 plus years of experience in each. This week, our guest is Mike Ramos, president of the Pasadena Pacers Running Club. Mike, you and Dr. Smith have a really amazing story about the first time you two met at the LA Marathon.
It goes back about, I'd say 12 years. I originally met you when you were the team doctor for Team in Training. My mother passed away of leukemia in 2006. I just got to a point where I wanted to fundraise a little bit and contribute to the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. I'm at mile 20. My left hamstring goes out. I was running at an incredible clip. I was poised to qualify for Boston. I just remember I was in tears and walking, and you seen me with the Team in Training shirt, and you pulled me over to the side. You asked what's wrong. I told you my hamstring had gone out on me. Somehow you calmed me down, put your hands on my hamstring, you did something, and I was able to jog the next 6 miles in. There's no way I would have been able to do that if you wouldn't have helped me out at mile 20.
You had reminded me of that story of the leukemia team in training. You know, I have a fondness for that group too, because my mom also died of leukemia. I think team in training's raised over $1 billion for cancer research.
Mike, how have the Pacers been dealing with the COVID pandemic?
As far as the pandemic, that's probably been one of the biggest challenges, is keeping people engaged while we cannot meet. We have a lot of tools here at the Pacers. As president, one of the things that's always on my mind is how can we be efficient in using these tools. We have several different Facebook pages, whether it's the members page or the Pace group pages. We have Instagram where people can tag us and we'll repost it. This time of year, this is when we're really getting a big influx of new people that want to run the LA Marathon for the first time. The biggest challenge, first, they don't know where to start. If they were to come to a meetup, we can tell them, okay, well, what pace do you run? Okay, well, come over here with Keith and he'll take care of you. With someone that's never been to the Pacers before, and now that we're in the pandemic, the best thing I could tell them is use the tools that we have. And it's kind of tough because some people don't really have an online presence, or they don't want to be the type of person that's, look at me, I'm taking a selfie, I just ran 6 miles. But at this point, that's probably the best thing to do, because the Pacers have always been very welcoming. And I'm seeing it right now in our members group. Newer people are going in there and posting their runs, and everyone's encouraging them and pushing them on and keeping each other accountable.
Where do you see the Pacers going in the future?
Well, when we're able to come back and meet again, we'll likely take it slow and maybe just use a couple of locations, or at least spread it out a little bit in the Rose Bowl. Some people will meet at the picnic tables. Maybe some people will meet up at Kids Space, and we'll send them in different directions just to be safe. The last thing we want is for a bunch of people to get sick because they came to the Pacers. We're very concerned about the membership and their health.
What's something that's different about the Pacers compared to some of the other clubs you see at races and on social media?
With the Pacers, we meet a lot of people that come into Pasadena for work, whether they're working at JPL or just anything else local in the area, and then they move to another region of either Los Angeles or California. So what happens is when I go to these races, I bump into people that I haven't seen in a couple of years, and it's a big reunion. There's one race in particular here in Chinatown. We see people that were once regulars at the Pacers, but they've moved somewhere else, but they all come into town for that particular race. It's the inspiration for our new hashtag, which is Pacers Stronger Together 2021. I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways that we've realized during the pandemic is we are stronger together, and we need to stick together any way we can, be it virtually or in person.
Absolutely, 100%.
Dr. Smith, do you remember how the Pacers developed from their early years to where they are now?
Well, what happened was it took off pretty quickly. And so as the program began to evolve, we realized that we needed more groups for more people. We needed a preconditioning group because people couldn't just come and start doing half marathons. And the people who had just run a full marathon couldn't come back and do a preconditioning. So we had to diversify and start getting coaches for those groups. And later, Robin and I think it was Lorraine Lerner, they didn't want to run 5 miles of the preconditioners, but they sure didn't want to run a marathon. So they thought there's got to be something between half marathon and preconditioners. How about a 10-mile group? So they started a 10-mile group, and there were some tough times. I won't say that it's all been roses. It takes an organization to be a stable thing that's always there, never fails. We're like the pantry restaurant, we never close. The Pacers has never not met. Robin and I came one Christmas morning. It was raining, cats and dogs, and we had, I think, 2 or 3 preconditioners that came and ran in the rain. And we said, we have to be there. There's no way you could not have the Pacers present. We ran with those preconditioners. They were slogging around Pasadena, and I never saw them again. They never came back. Mike, thank you so much for taking on that job. That is not an easy task. And you can't quit because everybody knows you're the president. You have a really challenging position, one that I don't envy.
I'm not going to lie. There are some times where I'm questioning my own sanity. Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? I do got to say, those days where I'm questioning why am I doing this, by the time I'm driving home, I just have this very, very satisfied feeling. Like I just did something to help out people, whether I watched their bag or I took their picture. It's just different things. It's not much. It's not like I'm really impacting their lives, but at the same time, it's enough to have a little bit of an impact on their day. One thing I've learned about running is for a lot of people, it's a life-altering experience. Really gratifying at the end of the day when you're driving home, you help some people out and part of their experience and you experienced it with them. I've talked to you about this before. Before running, my background was in soccer. And whether it was playing or coaching, I always put a big emphasis on being a top player. But what I noticed was when you do that, a lot of times people will develop into very good players, top players, but they're not well-rounded as a person. So I kind of changed that philosophy when I came to the Pacers. Instead of being a top runner, why don't I concentrate on being a top man and just helping people and be the best man I can possibly be?
That's great advice, and that's the best place to start from.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Dr. Steve Smith podcast. If you have a question for Dr. Smith, send him a message on social media at SteveSmithDC. Until next time, we'll see you on the roads and trails.